Hey Zach, how you doing?
Well, actually, I need a drink.
He needs a drink. You should go get a drink. What are you looking for drink-wise? Now he's moving the backboard. He's going into our server room. He's drinking the IPA.
Hashtag not sponsored. Dude, so what's up, man? So we're doing the podcast again, Intellicast Part 1, Zack Scriven Podcast Part 2. You guys know the drill, but you guys had such an amazing response to the last episode that I was like, let's make this a monthly thing where we just get together, we talk industrial automation, we talk Industry 4.0, talk digital marketing, and just make it an open conversation. So I'm going to hand you the mic.
Okay, so let's talk about what we did today. Okay, so Zach flew out this morning. Today's Thursday, February 28th. We cut our shoot short when you were here last time. It was just a long day. We had to shoot this podcast. So there were a couple of videos we wanted to shoot that we didn't shoot. So we shot those this morning. So we ran out of content this week, so we posted that video earlier in the week saying that we would take this week off and continue next week. So Zach flew out this morning. We came out, shot a full day's worth of content, and it actually went great today. What do you think?
I thought it went really well. I noticed at the beginning you were a lot more confident in your delivery. Like each time you're getting a little bit better at speaking to the camera. Like I noticed you were actually looking in the first video, you're looking dead on at the lens. You weren't even looking at me, and I'm like, sure, you don't even need me anymore. It's like
yeah, that wasn't by design. But so we're trying this mic today because it sounds better. In the last month we did like a lapel mic right here, so we're going to try this back and forth thing. Definitely way more comfortable. Well, I mean, I'm comfortable in front of the camera, and I'm definitely comfortable like stream of consciousness. When I'm not comfortable is if we outline. Like if I was going to have to outline out what I was going to talk about, that won't go well. I have to do it stream of consciousness, so I'm comfortable that way. So, but today we finished the Selling IIoT series. We talked a little bit about architecting IIoT solutions. We actually normally we shoot about 12 to 15 minutes of content at a time, and they get broken up into videos, but we had a couple of 30-minute videos today. So
yeah, definitely some longer videos. Definitely going to have my work cut out for me on editing, but that's what's cool is it's always a learning process. We're always getting better and experimenting. Like one of the things that I had thought of, and let us know if you guys would like this, is if we put maybe smaller videos on LinkedIn. Like let's say we have a 14-minute in detail video on selling IIoT to end users. Would you guys want to see that broken up into 2 7-minute videos, both posted to LinkedIn? Or would you rather see a full 14-minute video on YouTube and maybe a 1 or a 2-minute just to get a taste of it on LinkedIn? Let us know what you guys would want.
So what's up with you? So why don't you give the update of what's going on with Zack Scriven Media?
Oh man, it's insane. So I was telling you before, I have 3 to 4 clients right now, and one of them is myself, right? So, and that's the way I'm starting to kind of reframe my mind to look at it. I said last month and the month before that I was actually doing a lot better job at delivering a consistent message and building your personal brand than I was doing at my own. But it's for obviously good reasons. You were paying me to build your brand, to build Intellic. So obviously I need to deliver on that, or I'm out of a job. But secondly, you were kind of like the proving ground. In essence, I was looking at what was working with you, and then taking that back and applying it to my own practices. So the way I'm starting to structure it is to look at as if I were, and I think you guys as content creators or business owners, you really need to look at it like you are your own customer. Like I have to imagine as if Zack Scriven, the person, is paying Zack Scriven Media $10,000 a month to build Zack Scriven's personal brand, and Zack Scriven Media, the agency, is executing on delivering that content, producing it, publishing it, building an online community. So I do that for myself. I do that for Walker on Intellic, and we're starting to do more work with 4.0 solutions. There's other people that have been reaching out to me, and I do appreciate that, but I am being very selective in not trying to take on more work than I'm ready for. There's also another company. I want to kind of have a nice portfolio of like a system integrator, maybe a software company, maybe a hardware company, and kind of have a nice mix of, portfolio of marketing partners. So, but I'm open to what the industry wants, like the Flow software, the hat sponsorship, that's been working really well. Looking to expanding that. What else? Mary and I, we're doing good, and Zoe, she's starting soccer now, which is really cool. So,
good. So, I don't really like this experiment. So I think in the second, either we both use these, or I think in the next one we just do the next. But I know this sounds.
I could just hold it for you.
I know it sounds amazing, but. Anyway, I digress. So what's going on with us? So in the last few weeks, we've actually been very busy. So on the Intellic integration side, we've been where we have a bunch of projects that are ending and a bunch of projects that are beginning. So one of the things we've been experimenting with in the last couple of weeks is how do we manage transitioning? How do we manage with our engineers closing projects out and getting new projects kicked off seamlessly, right? How can we do the lessons learned at the end of a project and get them into their next projects seamlessly? So we've been using Fabricator. Fabricator is a tool that we use and we've used for years. It's developed by Facebook. It's a open source project management tool. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you look at it. It's Fabricator, Phabricator. Actually, you could probably flash in a screenshot of it or something here. But so we've been experimenting using Fabricator to manage the transition of the projects better. We've been very focused on building out the CRM a little bit more on the Intellic integration side. On the 4.0 solution side, we've been working with a couple of different integrators over the last couple of months or last couple of weeks to basically we're seeding integrators. Where these are new integrators that are Industry 4.0 integrators that have reached out to us, and we're supporting them getting off the ground. And we've been talking about possibly creating this integrator consortium, which is essentially the idea that all these like-minded integrators would work together and we would share administration and management. Essentially, one of the things we're thinking about right now is selling for other integrators. So prospecting towards their target target strengths. We basically get them up into the value proposition level in the sales cycle, and then they take over. Like we've been helping with legal, helping with HR, all that kind of stuff. So on the 4.0 solution side, that's kind of the direction that we've been going. We've met with a couple of different companies and looked at some new solutions, Industry 4.0 solutions that just came out. So there's a company called Sorba, S-O-R-B-A, that's got an amazing IIoT solution, full stack, edge to cloud that we've been looking at and testing. Another company called Influx Data that I referenced in one of the videos that we shot today. Influx Data's got an amazing platform, both open architecture, open source, plus an enterprise solution. We met with Siemens this week. They came and visited the office for a few hours, and we started talking about their IIoT solutions. We're testing their MQTT function block in the S7-1200. So, I mean, there's a lot of really great things going on with all of our companies, and we're not short on work, that's for sure.
That's good. Yeah, neither am I. This year, like towards the end of December, and then this year I started doing the Upwork thing, which has been working out really well. It has been a new struggle balancing that, but it has been forcing me to get better at my time management and blocking, and getting really efficient with video editing, and also outsourcing some tasks like like caption creation and smaller video editing projects. So
how are the podcasts for Automation Month coming along?
I'm glad you asked. Yeah, that's another huge thing that I've been working on. It's coming really well. The community response has been overwhelming. Dozens of people have reached out to be on the cast. I mean, I've already pretty much filmed like 10 episodes. Justin, Dean, Sean had already done, but Sean reminds me we need to hit up Sean again. Dustin, Justin Dean, Eric Compton, Colby Clegg, which was a huge one. Automation Month, the first go around, the first annual Automation Month, one of my dream guests was like Don Pearson. So it's not Don Pearson, but it is Colby Clegg, a C-level on exec, he's a co-director of engineering for software at Inductive Automation. So that was like, I told him, like, you're like one of my dream guests, because now this is actually a thing, and we're here sharing the stories of automation professionals. I mean, there's a bunch that I'm not listing right now, like 12 interviews. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to have my work cut out for me editing. I do want to seek out some sponsors, just to kind of build on the sponsors that we had last year, and just kind of continue to grow that value add. Because if you think about the amount of people on the podcast and their connections and the people that are going to watch it and how highly focused the content is, there's a huge value to be able to sell that to advertisers. And so I'm kind of just doing a waste by not doing that. So yeah, reach out to me if you guys are looking at sponsoring the Automation Month on the Zack Scriven podcast.
So one of the cool things that I've noticed over the last month and a half is that, with your help, we're making a difference in the community. Not just are we, not just directly in that we're helping other integrators, we're helping end users, we're helping OEMs, we're shifting the conversation, or at least contributing to shifting the conversation. That's the first thing. But the second thing is I've noticed that we're directly impacting the way that IIoT companies are marketing. I think they're hearing the message that your marketing material is you're speaking over everyone's head, and you need to simplify the argument for the common audience, right? And so one of the big things that I've noticed is that several IIoT companies are using more of the type of messaging and the drawings or the illustrations that we use in our whiteboard series. We're seeing them being reused in new marketing material, which means that we're helping them change their message, which we know resonates with the community, and then through one-on-one conversations with members of the community, we know, listen, everyone is leaning in this direction. All the community or the end users are asking for IIoT solutions. They just don't know how to accomplish them, and they don't have all the resources they need to pull it off. That is the support. The OEMs need to make IIoT ready hardware, the IIoT ready software. We need to have a common language, a common lexicon. People need to understand what IIoT actually means. But we're moving in the right direction, and I really feel like we're having a positive impact on that overall discussion, and a lot of that is a direct result of all of the members of the community that are engaging with us. I mean, this isn't while we're in front of the camera and we're the ones that are posting a lot of the videos, it's really the people who are chiming in and inputting on the content that is driving the conversation. They're driving the direction of what we shoot, but also they're driving the visibility. They're the ones who are getting our message and getting the community's message in front of in front of the eyes of the right people. So I do feel like we're having a huge impact, and I can tell you that just on Intellic and 4.0 solutions side, there are scores of new contacts that we have now that are direct business, that are going to expand our opportunities. I've met some amazing people. One of the integrators that I call it we're planting integrators, but an integrator that just started up in Chicago.
Converted into an
integrator. We're working very closely with them. I talked to the president of that company a couple times a week and just bouncing ideas. He's an IIoT guy, but translating his knowledge into the market I think that's what integrators are having a problem doing, and I think that's more where we can help. We're really good at doing the value proposition and selling IIoT. We're values based, and so whenever we can find the perfect partner for us or the perfect community member for us to be talking to is the community member who doesn't know how to, who needs help doing the value proposition and is values based. Number one, you got to be values based. You can't be chasing the bottom line. If money is your ultimate goal, then we're not the right partner for you. It's just not who we are. And then also, I think where we're really filling the gap is on architecture and doing the value proposition, helping people sell these solutions. So we're definitely moving the needle, and I feel really good about everything. Except for that mic.
No, dude, we'll get used to it. I used to do my podcast this way back when I did my podcast at VidCon. I only had one Shure SM7B. So I brought the Shure SM7B with me to VidCon in my backpack. I set it up in a coffee lounge, and I just passed it back and forth between myself and the guest. And, I would have the conversation like that, and it worked out well. You create with what you have. But, your point brings up an interesting point that, Colby Clegg and I were actually talking about in the Automation Month podcast. It was a really great episode. We talked for an hour. We talked about perspective, Ignition A, how the whole story of him, working and being the co-director of engineering for Factory PMI, which then became Inductive, and it's almost an hour. It's over an hour of content. Ignition A, perspective, the story of Colby, and inductive automation. So it's a really great episode, and he actually blew my mind a little bit about this notion of the concept of loosely coupled versus tightly coupled systems, and in regards to his question that he asked me about the future of system integration and how do I see engineers and resources in that, and I explained to him, and he's like, oh, like the concept of loosely coupled versus closely coupled. I've been thinking about publishing that podcast early for the community. So I think what I'll do is if this video gets 25 likes, I'll publish that podcast from Automation Month early. So make sure to smash that like button. But my thought is, what's your thoughts on loosely coupled versus tightly coupled in terms of resources for system integration, and how can we create this consortium?
Okay, so in terms of loosely coupled versus tightly coupled, I think, so I'll clear. I think what Colby's saying is that the environment is generally, or the community is generally cyclical. That is, we see the movement, for video gamers out there, the meta at the time, right? The movement or the meta is either loosely coupled automation stack or tightly coupled. Tightly coupled would be unified architecture. That would be closed stack. It would be, think factory talk solutions, right? Plant packs, so plant PAX in the PLC, in the HMI, SCADA, MES, and then factory talk analytics on the top, right? That is a tightly coupled stack, right? And then loosely coupled is open architecture, where you're using, web service and MQTT and all of the open protocols, where you're not predefining which nodes in the ecosystem play well together, right? You're basically creating an open architecture. That's loosely coupled, right? So And so I do agree with them that it is cyclical, but the reason for the cycle is not that the community goes wavers back and forth between the values of loosely coupled and tightly coupled. What happens is we go loosely coupled. Loosely coupled is what we want. We want everything to play nice together. There's not a single person out there that says, there's no benefit of my Siemens PLC being able to talk directly to my Allen Bradley PLC, right?
Or in the context of engineers, there's no reason I can't do a project for Intellic or for Corso or for
Correct.
Fill in the blank integration company. It should be loosely coupled.
Correct. So the community always wants loosely coupled. What happens is that someone comes out with a solution In this case, we'll just say Rockwell and their Factory Talk solutions. But we could use Siemens and the TIA portal, right? And it's not just them. We could talk about Schneider's offerings. You can, any of the monoliths, right? They come out with a solution that they market as loosely coupled and open, right? They come up with their own. Rockwell comes up with the is it digital enterprise, or what do they call it?
Connected enterprise.
Connected enterprise, right? So Rockwell calls it the connected enterprise. They coined their own term, and then in sales meetings they'll say it's the digital factory, the open architecture. Yes, we play nice with everything. It's only later on that you find out that it doesn't play nice. They don't play nice with everything. It's tightly coupled. It's not loosely coupled. And so the reason it's cycling back and forth is because someone, there's a new hot trend that the market who wants loosely coupled thinks is going to give them what they want, and it becomes a tightly coupled solution. And so somebody else, the market complains. I want everything to play nicely. Someone fills that vacuum, and they find out that one's tightly coupled. Why is it that providers, OEMs, software manufacturers, hardware manufacturers, the Schneiders, Rockwell, Siemens of the world, why is it that they want to unify everything? It's because they want to monetize all layers of the stack. I mean, that's just, that's business. And so that's the reason it's tightly coupled. So it's incumbent upon the community. It's incumbent upon the end users. It's incumbent upon the integrators and the OEMs to be insisting that solutions are open architecture. And we need to vet that. We need to do our due diligence and make sure that when we make a selection for our clients, when we make a recommendation, we're making a recommendation that scales, not just based on the technology we're aware of today, but 10 years from now. We need to be able to scale, and the only way to do that is to use open protocols, open architectures.
Is Walker Reynolds IIoT ready?
Yes, I'm always IIoT ready, and I it's funny we say that tongue in cheek, but I mean our organization, our businesses are built. They model the open architecture methodology. I mean, in terms of the way that we interact with other integrators, the way that we interact with our vendors. We really are built like an IIoT organization. So yeah, I'm IIoT ready, man. Does
your brain natively speak MQTT Sparkplug B?
My brain natively speaks Python. I mean, I think
you think in Python.
I think in Python. Yep. I think in SQL. I think in C#. I definitely think in terms of IIoT. I am in terms of the way my brain operates. If I see a closed door, or I see when we're architecting solutions and I see that we might be painting ourselves, I'd say this all the time, don't keep yourself in the center of the room. Don't paint yourself into a corner, right? And when we architect solutions, I take that approach. That's the IIoT approach, right? It's, but in terms of the way I think, no, I think in Python. I can tell you that. I mean, I dream in Python.
That's pretty sick. A lot of people say that they dream in the code. I used to think in Ignition, Ignition, it kind of was the center of the universe. And how can you, while being one of the biggest Ignition advocates out there, how can you also concurrently hold the position that, Ignition's not the center of the universe and you need to remain agnostic and open to other solutions while simultaneously still maintain a good relationship with them? Like, how does that work?
Well, the relationship I have with inductive automation is based on result. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about results. I'm not a very likable person. I mean, my relationships with my vendors are not based on that I'm very good at soft skills, because I'm not. I mean, and I don't hide that. When someone makes a mistake, I tell them. And I would say most people with any type of ego are going to take offense to that. And so. That being said, my relationship with IA is a very strong relationship, and they know where I stand in terms of, we're agnostic. I believe you have the best platform on the market right now, but no matter what, we're always going to do what's best for our client. So that's the reason we're not a premier integrator. We don't strive to be a premier integrator because we don't want to. Premier integrators have to set sales targets and that kind of stuff, and we don't want to do that. So you'll notice that when you look at any of my company's certifications, we stop all of our engagements with vendors at the point where there's some type of quid pro quo. So whenever we don't accept leads from our vendors unless our vendor says, listen, you're the only company that can do this, and we need your help.
What's quid pro quo? Quid pro quo?
Quid pro quo. Quid pro quo is that you do something. You do something based on scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. So that is we don't. If you. In vendors in general. I mean, Rockwell's known for this. I mean, and listen, I can't tell you how many people thousands of people have messaged us saying, listen, I feel the same way about Rockwell Automation as you do. Like, they make great hardware, that their business practices are terrible. The way that they treat people, the way that the way that they act like the 800-pound gorilla, the way they do that, I wouldn't recommend that people attack Rockwell the way I attack them. I do it coming from a good place, though. I'm trying to improve Rockwell Automation's business. I'm trying to get them to do what the consumer needs. What they want me to do is sell their products, and they don't really care if it's the best product for the customer or not. They just want you to sell their product.
That's one thing that's been a general theme across all the people that have watched your content and watched your videos. They'll know, every time you say ignition, you could bet that Factory Studio is probably going to get name dropped really quick in the same sentence or the next one. Maintaining that agnostic and non-preferential treatment, which is nice. And then also the other thing is like that Rockwell, might get some shade in some videos here and there. One person said, shots fired, like in the comments on YouTube, shots fired against PLCs that don't support MQTT.
Well, I mean, but Rockwell should be a leader here. Pure and simple. They should be a leader, and they're not. And ultimately, they will become a leader. I mean, they just will. The market's going to mandate it, but they'll be behind the 8 ball when they do it. Right? They'll be catching up. So then they'll try to catch up through acquisition. Right? I mean, it's all the normal. I love Rockwell's products. It's not that but do I sell Rockwell do I lead with Rockwell products? No, I don't. We work with Rockwell products only when the customer already has them. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you, none of our customers or our clients ever hire us and say, hey, I would love for any integrator or anyone to, if you think that I'm unfair to Rockwell, I think that you should comment and tell me you think I'm being unfair, because I've never met an integrator, I've never met an end user who said, I love Rockwell's business practices. That's literally not what they say. They say, I love their products and stuff, but I don't like the way they operate sometimes. So I do pick on them a lot, right? But when you're the big dog, and they're the big dog in the United States, I mean, you should be prepared to defend yourself. And I go to Automation Fair every year. I look at their products. I deal with their partners and stuff. And the reality is that part of the reason that we're not moving forward, part of the reason that the digital transformation has been so slow from Industry 3.0 to Industry 4.0 is because the leaders in industry are holding it back.
So if we were to make a video that would start out like, Dear Rockwell CEO, what would your advice be to Rockwell executives?
I would say that move away from unified. So that doesn't mean that they have to abandon unified architecture. And for those of you that don't understand what unified architecture is, it basically means, when you have, the automation stack, you have PLC HMI, you have SCADA, you have MES, ERP, and cloud. The unified stack is that I sell products at each layer of the stack, and I use the fact that I have products at each layer of the stack to convince people to buy use those products. I basically leverage the fact that I have 75% of the PLC install base to get people to buy my SCADA system, even though my SCADA system is not going to natively, even though my SCADA system will cost 10 times what it would cost to do it in a different platform, and it'll be 99% less open. I can't get it to talk to the APIs I need it to talk to. I can't exchange data the way I want it to. That the unified stack is the idea that I'm leveraging all the products I have within the stack to make you buy my other products simply because I own products in other locations in the stack, not because they're the best products to be using. So if I'm making the recommendation to Rockwell, I'm going to make 2 recommendations. Move away from leveraging the unified architecture, number 1. And number 2, all you have to do is support open IIoT protocols. That's it. It's really simple. I mean, it's not even a major, Siemens just came out with the MQTT function block for their S7 line of PLCs, and we met with Siemens this week. They're definitely going open. There's no question about it. They are supporting open protocols. It's really funny, and this is a... if people are still watching, this will be the most important part of this conversation. So Siemens was here this week, and I said to them, listen, in 2008, inductive automation became a player, okay? You and Rockwell should have known it. You should have seen them, but your arrogance are what kept you from changing. And there were 3 people from Siemens here, and they all nodded yes. Every single one of them said, I cannot believe you guys did not react to inductive automation. You didn't take them seriously. And he said, you're right. We did not take them seriously. That is what he said. And